All right, so let's head over to the Kentucky Derby because the Run for the Roses is happening this Saturday at Churchill Downs. And joining us now for a preview of the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby is Dick Jerardi, courtesy of betonline.ag. Dick, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, guys.
Look, this is an exciting year for the Derby because, well, one, it's a great field in front of everybody, but there's a lot of intrigue around this because after a 3-year absence, Bob Baffert is back at Churchill Downs. What does that mean for horse racing and the Kentucky Derby, as he's a guy that he's had a lot of horses cross that finish line in front of everybody else, and he's coming off that 3-year ban?
It's a big deal because he's the most recognizable figure in the sport, right? I mean, he'd be like Tom Brady was when he was in the NFL, like LeBron James is for the NBA at the moment. He's the guy. So the fact that he's back is a big deal. And as you mentioned, he's won the Derby 6 times, which ties a record. And the reason he wasn't around is the time he had a horse finish first for the 7th time. Medina Spirit was ultimately disqualified for a medication violation. It wasn't like this was not Lance Armstrong kind of situation. It was not a performance enhancer, but it was not supposed to be in the horse's system on the day of the race, and that's ultimately what happened. I thought Churchill Downs overreacted, but for putting all that aside, he's back. Whatever was in the past is in the past. He's got a couple horses in the race, and it's good to have him back.
Yeah, Citizen Bull and Rodriguez, his 2 horses that he has in the race, and either one of them are odds-on favorites. But which one of those 2 do you believe is going to have the inside line to win or have a chance to win the Derby this weekend? Because you got Citizen Bull drawing the rail, if I'm correct, right?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. He's the 1, and Rodriguez is the 4. Look, they're both talented horses. Citizen Bull was a 2-year-old champion last year. He won the Breeders' Cup. Rodriguez most recently won the preparation to New York before you come to the Derby. So, I mean, they both have serious credentials. The problem is guys' running style. They have similar running styles. They're both front runners. They need the lead to win, and they're kind of lined up next to each other. So, and the post positions are kind of forced to go. You can't really wait around. So, yeah, you have the Wood Memorial winner and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, but I think they're both in just a difficult spot. It's not that they're not talented enough to win, but just the circumstances of this race, I think, is going to be working against them.
Dick, I'm a dumb man in so many facets, but particularly as like, don't get me wrong, I like watching the events when they come up. You know, when there's a shot at a Triple Crown, I do not have the capacity to get that deep into it because like I said, I am dumb. Why does the Kentucky Derby matter so much? What about it makes this standalone thing that everybody, no matter how dumb I am, I want to watch it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a couple things. One, this is Derby 151, right? So you're talking it starts around the Civil War. That's how long this has been around. So that gives you a little bit of an insight into it. I mean, it started after the Civil War, but in that era. Mm-hmm. So anything that's been around that long, run continuously, is obviously a big deal. I think it's a rite of spring, right? You figure, all right, it's the first Saturday in May. You've gotten through the winter. April, there were nice days or not such nice days. Now you're into the spring and the summer. So I think that's part of it. And the fact that it's fascinating because it's one of these big events that we have annually, right? The Super Bowls keeps getting bigger and bigger. The Derby keeps getting bigger. Now, my first year going as a fan was 1978 and covering it from 1987 on. It's fascinating just to watch how much bigger Churchill Downs has gotten. The racetrack, they keep adding new seats every year. They can't charge enough money. People will pay for it. They just want to be part of the action. It's fashion, it's food, it's drink, people want to be seen, and there's also a lot of money being exchanged and horses with rich people, and some horses with poor people who happen to get lucky, millions of dollars of purses, and yeah, it's all of that combined. It's just a scene, and if you ever get a chance to go, everybody should go once in their life.
We're talking with Dick Jerardi, courtesy of BetOnline.ag, about the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby coming up this Saturday. Now, I had this conversation with a buddy of mine who went to the Masters this past April, and we were talking about the bucket list of events to go to. And obviously, the Kentucky Derby popped up in our heads as immediately that's the one. You've been going to derbies for a really long time. You've covered them. What is the must do when you go to the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, I think you need to get there a couple of days early, and if you can, and this is really, go on one of the backstretch tours early in the week. If you don't know somebody that can get you, and when I'm talking about backstretch, that's where the barns are, where the horses are. Just to kind of be there in the morning, just to see what the horses are doing, see all the media around, see the well-known trainers. You can actually almost be a part of it, which really doesn't happen in any other sport. So if you're there, try to get there a couple days early. You go to some restaurants downtown. There's a lot of neat restaurants in the Ville. People that don't know about Louisville, it's right on the Ohio River, right across from Indiana, and just maybe go like on what yesterday's race or today's races are. They call them Derby, Thursday at the Derby, and then tomorrow's Oaks Day. It's just a scene, but yeah, if somehow you can get yourself on the backside during the week, that's a really cool part of Derby week.
Is there anything in this Derby as it pertains to the lines that stands out to you? Not necessarily the winners or losers, but is there anything unique about this Derby? With you mentioned where you've got Baffert's horses that are front runners that are going to kind of change some things around. Is there anything different or unique about this field that we're looking at that's going to play a pretty large role in how these lines are kind of coming out as we get closer to the race?
Yeah, I think a horse like Journalism, who is the favorite, I think the story there is unique. His trainer is Michael McCarthy. He lives in Altadena, which unfortunately is one of the towns that just got absolutely ruined by the wildfires in Los Angeles. So he has not been in his house since January, and he's training the Derby favorite. So that's something to think about. That's unusual this year in the Derby. And I'll give you, and I really like Journalism, not just because that was my business for years. I like the horse. He's terrific. Nothing not to like about him. He's won his last 4 starts. He's won his only 2 this year. And one of the cool prop bets at betonline.ag is over/under margin of victory, and it's a length and a half. And I think Journalism is going to win by a lot, so I'm going with the over a length and a half. In addition to that, if for some reason Journalism doesn't win, and I really do think he is going to win, you get the other 19 horses too, and if any of them wins by a length and a half, you cash that bet as well.
What did the journalism industry do to get not just Journalism the odds-on favorite, but also publisher in this?
How about that?
Who's buying these horses?
Yeah, that's amazing, right? So I'm not sure where the publisher name came from, but I know where the Journalism name came from. The owner, Aaron Wellman, who's the majority owner of the horse, he was his high school newspaper's sports editor. And the mother of Journalism was named Mopetism. So that's how he came up with Journalism for the horse. But it is incredible that we have not just Journalism, but also publisher in this race. Yeah, how about that exacta? We have the Journalism publisher exacta. Does that mean newspapers are coming back? What do we got?
I am so in on that exacta coming down. Look, one of my favorite feats in all of sports is the Triple Crown, though. And right now, betonline.ag, will there be a Triple Crown champion in 2025? Yes, 4-1, no 1-7. And obviously the odds are on no's favor because it's so hard to do. What amazes me is all of these races, they get longer, and as the time in distance, but the time in between them is short in between. And it takes a unique horse to do it. Are there any in the field that you think have that Triple Crown feel about them? Because you need a horse that's fast and can do the sprint, but also a horse that has enough stamina to win the Belmont.
Right. So what you don't know is, because all these horses have been, and babied isn't the right word, but trained very judiciously up to this point, where they'll run once a month, once every 6 weeks. And she said, now you got to run 3 times in 5 weeks. So it's a complete unknown whether any of these horses can do it. Here's what, let's say journalism does win on Saturday and then wins the Preakness in 2 weeks. The thing he's got going for him this year, and it happened last year as well, the Belmont Stakes is not going to be run at Belmont Park. That is being renovated. They've torn down the old Belmont Park. So they're going to run to the Saratoga Racecourse in upstate New York. They can't run the race at 1.5 miles because of the configuration of the track. So it won't be that long marathon distance. It'll be the exact same distance as the Derby. It'll be 1.25 miles. Oh. So from that standpoint, it might be a touch easier because that 1.5 miles distance, horses only run it once in their lives in the Belmont Stakes. American horses are just not, they're not asked to run 1.5 miles on the dirt. It just doesn't happen. So maybe from that standpoint, it could be a touch easier this year.
On the flip side of this, Dick, when you're betting the long shots, is there anybody on the long shot line, and you're like, hey, something breaks their way? Is there a horse that stands out in this group that could pull a major upset on this weekend?
I like Burnham Square, the 9. Journalism's the 8. That's actually my exact 8-9. Now, Burnham Square is listed at 12-1. That's not a super long shot, but he could go up. He could be 20-1 by the time this is over. And I'll give you another one that I know is going to be a long shot, the 3 Final Gambit. He's listed at 30-1, and he could go off at 50-1. So, if you're looking for some bombs to throw in there, and hope to catch Rich Strike Jr. here from 3 years ago when he won at 80-1. And I still haven't figured that out. He never won another race. He really done nothing before that. That's one of those where you just shake your head and you go, I have no idea what just happened here.
Can you put into kind of perspective, you said your first Derby was in 1978. Yep. And that's 5 years after Secretariat set the record for the Kentucky Derby. Can you put into perspective kind of how impressive that record is and the chances of it ever going down?
Yeah, I would compare it to Tiger Woods winning the U.S. Open by 15 shots in 2000, right? It's just one of those things that's literally impossible. Not only did Secretariat set the record for a race that's not going to be run for the 151st time, he ran each quarter mile faster than the previous quarter mile, and that does not happen in horse racing. Horses may look like they're running faster at the end than the beginning, but they're not. It's an optical illusion. They're all slowing down. But yet Secretariat did the opposite. He came his final quarter in 23 seconds. On Saturday, the final quarter will be about 25 seconds, which is 10 lengths in horse racing. That's how amazing what he did was in 1973. 159 and 2/5. There's only one horse that's even gotten to 2 minutes in the interim. That was Monarchos in 01. And the only reason he did, the track was souped up that day. It was so hard and fast. Track records are falling all day long. Actually, the time meant nothing, as it turned out. But, Secretariat, 1 of 1. Nope, nothing like him.
So you gave us your exacta. Do you have a favorite prop bet, though, for the Derby? BetOnline.ag has a ton of them that are out there.
Yep.
Everything from photo finish to the color of the horse and what they're wearing. What is your favorite?
So, the over-under a length and a half. I like the over length and a half. I mentioned that. But here's a fun one. How about it's a great prop bet at BetOnline. Horse or rider name ending in Z. It turns out there's 6 riders and 1 horse, Rodriguez, ending in Z. So you get 7 different possibilities. You have the Ortiz brothers. You have John Velasquez, you have Nick Juarez, you got Brian Hernandez, you got John. I mean, it's a really fun bet. I think I said 7. It's 5 jockeys and a horse. So that's a really cool prop bet. You get any one of them, you win.
All right, Dick, I got to ask you this before I let you go because I've already forgotten. My dad and I were talking about this just last week, and when you mentioned Ortiz, he said, "Now there's 2 Ortizes running or that are riding." You got to get this. I've already forgot which Ortiz do I need to go with in the jockey that I'm betting on.
So Jose Ortiz is on the better horse. Jose Ortiz is riding Sandman, where Irad Ortiz. Remember we mentioned Publisher a minute ago?
Yeah.
Irad. Hang on. Sometimes I'd lose my mind. Is he riding? Yeah, he's riding Publisher. The only problem with Publisher is he hasn't won a race yet. He's still a maiden. He did run second in the Arkansas Derby. That's how he got his way in here. But, of the two of them, Sandman won the Arkansas Derby. So the Ortiz brothers, I would say Jose is on the better one of the two. He's on the 17, where Irad, who's been the champion jockey in the country, I don't know, 5 or 6 of the last 8 years, he's riding Publisher.
Now, Jose Ortiz, he's ridden more than just Sandman in this race, though, correct?
Correct.
Over the time. That's something that people need to kind of look at. How regular is it that these jockeys jump around from the elite horses from one to the other?
All the time. Yeah, I mean, especially this time of year, because they're hedging their bets, right? Unless they're on the obvious favorite, they're going to ride a horse, say, in a prep race in Florida. The horse finishes 5th. Well, they realize that horse isn't going to the Derby, so they're trying to get somewhere else. And it's only like the top 5 or 6 jockeys that can get away with this, where trainers go, hey, will you ride my horse? I'll get rid of this guy, and I'll let you ride him. But, yeah, they definitely are trying to put themselves in the best possible spot to win.
Dick, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the insight, and have a great time with this 151st running of the Kentucky Derby.
You got it. Thanks so much, guys.
That's Dick Jerardi, courtesy of betonline.ag. I love the Kentucky Derby every damn year. But my dad gives me so much information. It goes in one ear and right out the other. He's like, there's 2 Ortiz brothers you need to be on. And I was like, I already forgot what you've told me. But Sandman, that's the Andy Hara pick of the weekend.
I'll add an addendum for mint and julep.
Oh, a mint julep?
There you go.
Have that to drink?
Yeah.
They're delicious.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's the other thing about the Kentucky Derby, like bucket list event.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying go to the backstretch tours, get there a couple days early. I'm saying go a couple days early, do that tour, and then go to the bourbon tours all around there. That's the heart of bourbon country.
That's the nighttime tours.
That's what I'm talking about.
No,
and then you could do the Louisville Slugger factory.
I did that when I was in high school.
You did?
Yeah, I went out there for a DECA competition and high school marketing competition.
Yeah.
It was in Louisville, and the two things we went and did is we went to the Louisville Slugger place and the Six Flags. At the time, they had the fastest suspended roller coaster in the world.
Look at that.
So it's one you dangled from.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was cool. I think it's called the Riddler.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Those can F right off.
Oh, dude, like it was
love
crazy.
roller
Like
coasters.
when your legs are just like all you've got is like this thing like reaching up underneath you, kind of cupping you, but yeah, no, that's yeah, I know.
Stepchildren.
Yep, you can grab that one for later.
Yeah, go ahead and grab
But
that.
like your legs are just dangling, and there's a spiral that you hit at like I want to say it's like 70 miles an hour. It's wild, dude.
Jeez Louise.
Oh yeah, it was wild.